long weekend was characterized by various crimes, and despite efforts being made by law enforcement agencies to maintain law and order and ensure everyone's safety, the status quo is not expected to change without behavioral change. To give us an update on the crime report over the long weekend, I'm now joined via Skype by NAMPOL spokesperson, Deputy Commissioner Kauna Shikwambi. Good evening, Deputy Commissioner. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, good evening, Franklin.
How would you generally rate the public's conduct and behavior regarding the adherence to especially the health regulations in place, such as the curfew?
Since the new regulations in place, all regional commanders were directed to embark on intensive operations. And it has been conducted so far. And based on the reports that we received from the various regional commanders, is that they have experienced adherence from the public overall. So one would maybe say that the nation is starting to comprehend the seriousness of the situation. Of course, there were some reports in terms of violation, because always you will find those who defy the regulation, as well as those who are very uncooperative. But all in all, based on the regional commander's report, they has really experienced adherence from members of the public.
How lenient is the police if there are those that are not adhering to the curfew? And what are the consequences if people really go to the extent of completely ignoring and keeping on disregarding the regulations, especially the curfew?
One of our modus operandi since we started enforcing the rules and regulations of our COVID was also to educate the nation. That is one aspect that we continued to embark upon ever since. And even during this time, that's definitely what we have done. Not so much really concentrating on fighting and punishing, but rather educating. So that is what we have been doing. There were, however, those who were observed really defying the regulations, especially when it comes to the enforcement of the Liquor Act. There were a lot of reports from the regional commanders that there was a late closing of the outlet, so they were only closing after 8 o'clock, and thereby forcing the law enforcers to force them or to educate them, and then to close their premises. The other violation was also the curfew, because a number of people were found roaming the street, as well as vehicles who were traveling very late beyond the 9 o'clock hour. So that was really a challenge. Now, what most region has done, they have let them park at the checkpoint and only allow them to continue the next morning, which is 4 o'clock. Thirdly, Franklin, there was a car accident where 3 people died. Now, when you look at the hour when this accident occurred, that was between Klein Aub and Rehoboth, the gravel road. It was after 11 o'clock at night. So unless really the travel was caused by an emergency, otherwise this is a pure violation of the curfew. And this is what we try to educate the public. We need to desist from defying the regulations. Let us prepare ourselves and only travel the next hour as it is stipulated.
Normally this time of the year, perhaps not so this year because of COVID-19 and the regulations in place, what would you say are some of the major crimes that was reported Over this period, there have been news of minors still being raped, gender-based violence continues, and contravention of controlled wildlife products and trade.
Franklin, it's so unfortunate that even during festivities as such, like these ones, the Christmas time where we're supposed to stay with our loved ones, crime continue unabated. Since the 24th to date, maybe 2 o'clock, the report of incidents that we received ranges from murder. There was 1 murder case. There were 6 attempted murder cases. There were 4 rape cases. There were 7 cases of suicide. There was also theft of motor vehicle. We got a report of assault, GBA, a report of robbery, as well as the use of drugs, that is very prevalent, as well as the 2 cases of concealment of theft.
So the crime is still continuing despite the curfew in place. Finally, Deputy Commissioner, your message to Namibians out there as we still have the New Year's ahead of us.
Our message going forward is that we all really are required to drastic discipline. It's self-policing, it's self-regulating. If we really want to win this battle. So we really need to discipline ourselves so that eventually then we make the difference. And that difference can only happen if we all adhere to the stipulated laws and regulations.
Deputy Commissioner Kauna Shikwambi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Franklin.
And that was Nampol's spokesperson, Deputy Commissioner Kauna Shikwambi, giving us an update on the crime report and also how they've been addressing issues surrounding the curfew and whether Namibians are adhering to it or not.